Okay, I just had a couple of extra days to prepare for Western Kentucky, but when you play those Tuesday night games, some of that time you have to use wisely on recuperating, making sure you get your body back, that you catch up on some academic work these guys are responsible for, their obligations, and of course all sights and all focus set on Western Kentucky. Excellent football team. Obviously they're on a roll right now, winning 4 games straight, playing real good football, playing with a lot of energy, playing physical football, and again, another great opportunity for us up in Bowling Green.
Both you and Western Kentucky are 2-3 in points against this season in the Sun Belt. Can you just talk about the defensive battle that you expect this Saturday between each other?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know both defenses, both teams just play with a lot of pride. You turn on the tape on both football teams, and they're fighting, clawing, and scratching, from snap to whistle. And I think when two teams like that collide, it's an exciting football game. And I know, I'm sure they're expecting a packed house up there. Our players are excited to go up there and play in that environment. Weather should be perfect. We're looking forward to a great football game.
What have you seen from Western Kentucky's biggest offensive threat, Bobby Rainey? I mean, what do you feel like you can counter or be able to stop? How can you stop his rushing attack?
Well, the one thing I notice about Bobby Rainey is that as the game goes on, he gets stronger. Okay, he's got 1,000 yards plus already this season. His offensive line has done a great job, not only in terms of blocking for him, but just developing over the past 2 years. Big physical guys. They handle the football. Their tight end does a great job in not only in the running game, but in play action pass as well. They get the ball to the tight ends. They have playmakers outside as well. Their roster certainly is very athletic. But Bobby Rainey is, there's a reason he's up for the Player of the Year in the conference. It's because of what he does and the fact that he does it against, I would say, always good opponents and during tough times and late in the football game. That's what makes him so effective, and he's a great football player.
And how important is it to really force this team into the throwing situations? I mean, they like to run the ball a lot more than they pass, and they first in the Sun Belt with 11 interceptions this year. Just how important is it to really make them throw more than
Well, and I think I know they've thrown some interceptions, but watching Jake's developed, he's become a heck of a quarterback. And he not only does before was a guy that just kind of he was a runner and a thrower both. He's developed to a real good pocket passer, and he can hurt you with his feet also. We all know Bobby Rainey is a great football player, and you have to stop, but you also have to realize they have weapons everywhere. They do, and if you play certain run plays, certainly gives you issues in play action. So you have to be aware for all their playmakers what they're doing schematically. You have to make sure you're on point assignment wise. They present a hell of a challenge. They control the clock. I believe time possession is largely in their favor throughout the course of the first 8 games. So again, it's, for our defense, they've been preparing hard, preparing well, and preparing for a physical football game.
Jake's runs, are they a lot of planned runs, you think, or is it just his escapability?
A little bit of both. He's got great escapability. And I'll tell you, I know if they wanted to, they have a real good offensive line, good tight ends, and they have a real good running back. If they wanted to run him, in a spread offense, they could. He's that type of an athlete. And those are the guys that present a lot of problems to defenses. Those are the guys that can really hurt you in a couple of different ways. So again, between him, between Bobby Rainey, between the tight ends, the wide receivers, freshman Bo Brain's doing a great job for them. And their offensive line, obviously being a former offensive lineman, I tend to think those guys are playmakers too, and those guys are playing good football for them. So.
What kind of advantage does it give your defense? Obviously, it gives you a pretty good advantage that they're 3 for 12 in field goals this year. I mean, not very good in the field goal department. What does that give you advantage defensively?
Well, because they haven't hit doesn't mean they're not going to hit. I know they're constantly working a rotation, trying to find the best combination of snapper, holder, and kicker for themselves. Certainly, our game plan is going to be what it is as it relates to their playmakers, as it relates to field zones, down and distance, and whatnot. And again, you can't take for granted that they've had some misses in that department. If they were better in that department, maybe they would have won some of their other games as well. So. Again, you have to put together a complete game plan. You have to execute 4 quarters. I do believe we're the only Sun Belt team that have won in overtime this year, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong in that stat, but again, I think it's a great indication of how far both teams are willing to go to get a W.
And then on defense, Kadarius Smith, 6.5 sacks. Would you say he's pretty much their biggest defensive threat?
I think they have one at each level. They have a couple at each level. I think, both defensive ends have provided them with numerous big plays, numerous tackles for losses, and helped them lead the conference in sacks. They're very active inside. A couple of kids from down here from Florida, that are very active, very productive, get great push up front. Andrew Jackson has played great football for him at linebacker, very physical presence, heavy hitter. In the secondary, they're very physical as well. They could run. They certainly become a very athletic secondary. I know that Tyree Robinson, and also a Florida product, is a guy that really makes his presence felt, on defense and on special teams, with the ability to make big plays and just knock people around. So impressive defense. They're playing good ball.
And then penalties have been an issue for your team of late, like we saw in the first half against Troy. Western Kentucky's drawn the second most penalties against their opponents this year. Have you seen anything that they do to really draw so much penalties?
Absolutely. They'll certainly try to get you to jump with their cadence. They're a huddle team. They're under center a good portion of the time, and that way, the clock does wind, a little bit quicker than it does regularly. That's how they gobble up time of possession. We expect that what we saw in the second half against Troy is going to be more of an indication of what we will be going forward. We had one penalty, one too many, but it certainly was a vast improvement from the first half. Once we got settled down, it's extremely important. We're doing all the little things necessary to provide us with those types of situations to practice it, to make sure that we're poised, that we have our composure, and at the same time be able to execute at a high level, because that's what you have to do when you go into a game like this.
I mean, you talked about the enthusiasm in their program since they got 4 wins going. They're going to be high. I know the answer to this is going to be very important, but can you just talk about just how important it is? So if you get an early opportunity to cash in early and kind of try to take that crowd out of the game.
Yeah, well, I think games like this, and I remember I had a coach in college that would say the same thing. In games like this, there's going to be a lot of emotion, flying around all over the place, and you got to make sure you understand that. The game will be won through preparation and through execution. So we expect a lot of bodies flying around, some hard-hitting action going on, some plays made on both sides of the ball, on both teams. But the bottom line is making sure that we're always ready to respond, to be on the attack, to be the aggressor, and to respond to anything that does come our way. Getting off to a good start is always important. I think college football is a game of momentum more so than the NFL. Because you're still dealing with the 18 to 23-year-olds. Emotions are a little bit different. So I think that's always important and always a good thing. So, of course, throughout practice the entire year, that's all. We do focus on that as well, along with anything else. But more importantly, the complete game, until that clock strikes 0, and whether it be an overtime or quadruple overtime, whatever it is, to finish the game.